Hi, I'm Phil Konstantin, and on today's edition of Travels with Phil, we're going to be traveling to the sports world, specifically football. Many people like to debate who's the best athlete in any given sport. When it comes to football, many people have their favorite players. They like some for their ability to score, those who can think on their feet, their speed, their strength, their durability, their grace, their spirit, their competitiveness, or even their fierceness. Another subject of debate is whether old school players are as good as the modern ones. I'd like to tell you about one of my favorite old school players who I think still ranks right up there with the greatest. George Blanda played professional football for a record 26 seasons from 1949 to 1975. He retired before the 1976 season, a month shy of his 49th birthday, a record. George spent 10 seasons with the Chicago Bears, part of one with the Baltimore Colts. I remember his 7 seasons with the Houston Oilers and his last 9 years with the Raiders. While he was once a defensive linebacker and a tailback, he is most known for his time as a quarterback and kicker. Blanda scored 2,002 points during his career. That was a record that remained unbroken for 24 years. He played professional football in 4 different decades. Presently is listed as 7th in the list of most points scored, with all of the people above him having ended their careers in 2004 or later. He threw 236 touchdowns, ran for 9, kicked 335 field goals, and a record 943 points after touchdowns, or PATs. Blanda had a final PAT completion record of 98.3%. Blanda once threw 7 touchdowns in a single game, also a record, and in one game in 1961, his passes gained 464 yards. George's total of 340 games played is currently ranked as 5th best in the entire sport. According to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, at the time of his retirement following the 1975 season, Blanda held the record in 27 different categories for both regular season and postseason games. Additionally, he still holds many records for his time in the American Football League and was one of only 20 players to play all 10 years of the AFL, as well as one of only 3 who were in every AFL game their teams played. John Madden, his Raiders coach, once said, "If you put him in a group of the most competitive, biggest clutch players, I think he'd have to be the guy who would win it all. He was the most competitive guy that I ever knew." Blanda was voted the most valuable player in both 1961 in the AFL and in 1970 in the NFL. Also in 1970, George was named the Associated Press Male Athlete of the Year. He was the first professional football player to ever receive that award. Now, that award has been given out annually from 1931 through 2020. Only 6 other professional football players have received it. In 1999, Blanda was named number 98 on the Sporting News list of the 100 greatest football players. Blanda was the first ever recorded fantasy football draft pick when the game was first created in 1962. And in 1981, George was inducted into the Professional Football Hall of Fame.
This is where it all is. This is like getting an Oscar for best performance. This is the epitome and the goal. I mean, you can win Super Bowls, you can win championships, but you can't, and it's hard to get into the Hall of Fame.
George Blanda played over 26 years in the National Football League, and he's seen football change. As a quarterback, he threw over 4,000 passes for 236 touchdowns, more than 26,000 yards, that put more than 2,000 points on the board. But now he's here in the most prestigious fraternity in pro football.
The players and the championships, the Super Bowls and the dreams of young men who love the chill of fall in the air, the smell of leather and sweat, and the cheering of the crowds. They're all history now, except for the echoes and images that are preserved here for all of us in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. It's truly a place for all the seasons of our lives.
While all of these records are very impressive, Blanda is perhaps best known for this amazing series of comebacks during the 1970 season when he played for the Oakland Raiders. By this point in his career at the age of 43, George was primarily a kicker specializing in field goals and points after touchdowns. But for 5 games in a row at the end of the season, Blanda stepped in and brought the Raiders back from a losing score or a tie to a total of 4 final victories and 1 tie. Against the Steelers, with a score of 7-7, Blanda replaced the injured head. George replaced the starter again through a game-winning touchdown with only 2 minutes and 28 seconds left. And in the last of the 5-game comeback string, the Chargers and Raiders were tied late in the fourth quarter. 3 years old, Blanda became the oldest quarterback to play in a championship game. Although the Raiders lost to the Baltimore Colts that day, Blanda accounted for all 17 of Oakland's points. Now, these seemingly miracle last-minute saves by a 43-year-old backup quarterback became so excited he was just beside himself. He kept repeating how old Blanda was, and he eventually yelled, "And he's older than I am!" Well, during this series of miracle games, Blanda appeared on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, too. Johnny asked George how old he was, and with a twinkle in his eye, George said something along the lines of, we have 40 players on our team, and our average age is 28. If I were to quit, the team's average age would be 24. And Darryl LaMonica was the injured first-string quarterback Blanda had replaced during the streak, and Darryl once said about Blanda, he was older than most of our coaches. Back when he first started playing for the Chicago Bears in 1949, his starting salary was around $6,500 a season. He actually had a second job in sales during the offseason. When he was let go from the Bears, his boss, George Halas, told him he would never play again because of his age. Well, Blanda took a certain amount of pleasure in the fact that he would eventually play for another 16 years. Upon his retirement, Blanda joked that they had to replace him with 2 different players because of his kicking and quarterback skills. While George Blanda may not make your list of the greatest of all time, he is certainly worthy of a great deal of respect for his accomplishments over an unrivaled career. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right-hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.